Funding for this program was provided by a grant from BNY Mellon Foundation of Southwestern Pennsylvania and also by CNX Resources, with additional support from these generous funders. Thank you.
We have a lot of eyes on Pittsburgh, and there's a lot happening here.
A lot happening in the way of new technology.
Hi, good morning. Good morning. How you doing, Miss Carolyn?
New careers, new opportunities.
Very good.
The employment situation in this region has reached a critical juncture.
The challenge is finding people to fill jobs in Pittsburgh's ever-changing workforce.
Particularly for people of color who are coming into our market, making sure that we have inclusive spaces, making sure that they can see themselves in a professional landscape.
But there are people and programs working for change and inclusiveness.
If we don't have people here to fill these jobs, we can't grow as a region.
Mentoring, training, forming partnerships, making sure future job opportunities are opportunities for all.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Tonya Caruso, and we are talking about jobs in the Pittsburgh region and a major challenge for some in getting them. When the Allegheny Conference issued its Inflection Point report, it was eye-opening for this region. Among many things, it explored the fastest growing jobs here, but also pointed out a future shortage of workers. And it sent yet another reminder of a Pittsburgh issue that is all too familiar. Our region's workforce is one of the least diverse in the nation. And for underrepresented communities, there are opportunity gaps in education as well as access to careers with upward mobility. Our guests are here to talk about the local efforts to reverse those trends. Allison Treaster is the Director of Talent and Business Engagement with the Allegheny Conference. Dr. Yvonne Walters is the President of the Northwest Region of the Community College of Allegheny County. Elisa Seawald-Paul is a Senior Director with Year Up. That's a workforce development organization working to close the opportunity divide. Thank you for coming in and talking with us about such an important issue.
Thanks for having us.
So we touched on this a little bit in the show open, but let's begin with why this is such an important issue. What does this mean for our region, our economy, if we aren't a diverse workforce?
So you mentioned the Inflection Point report, and in 2016, the Allegheny Conference, along with our 300 corporate members, community partners, education leaders, et cetera, got together to really map out what our challenges are, and talent is certainly one of those. We're looking at an 80,000 person worker shortage if we do nothing. And that's due to baby boomers retiring, to new job growth, et cetera. And so we really looked at what are some strategies that we can do to make sure that the population here has the skills they need to access the jobs that are in demand, but also how do we attract talent to the region to help fill those jobs? Because it's certainly a combination of retaining top college talent, attracting more workers, and also upskilling the population that we have here.
Yeah, 80,000, that's an incredible number. And can you give me a sense of where those jobs are? What types of fields are we talking about?
So it's really across industry. You look at the energy sector, they're certainly an older population, so they're going to need to backfill that. Healthcare is continuing to boom in the region, so there's always going to be a demand for healthcare professionals. But you also look at how technology is impacting nearly every field. And so the need to upskill workers to meet, the demands that technology is changing daily is critical, and we need to make sure that our current workforce and our future workforce is ready for that.
Yeah, Dr. CCAC was certainly at the table. Why was it important for your organization, but really for the whole region, to come together to look at this issue?
I think if you look at the old adage, it takes a community. It's really important that we are able to recognize the assets that we have here and leverage the assets around a cohesive vision that really speaks to the challenge that Allison has mentioned with regards to the forecasted shortage. the college has a wonderful legacy of over 50 years of working very directly with some of the very core issues that I think Pittsburgh is faced with. When we talk about diversity, opportunities for all, our mission based off the notion that we are an open access institution speaks to the opportunities of partnership, building, I would call, sensitive pathways that in essence allows for us to open the equity opportunities for underserved populations and historically underrepresented groups. And so CCAC views this as core to the mission, core to what they do in helping address the workforce needs of this community.
Right, and when we talk about growing the workforce, Elisa, you're from Pittsburgh originally, you left for a bit, you came back, and now part of your work now is bringing people to the region and helping to educate people who are here.
Exactly. So Year Up, which is a big part of the reason I'm here, our mission is to close the opportunity divide. So we think about all of the issues you just talked about on a daily basis. And sort of the ethos behind what we do is the idea that talent is equally distributed, access and opportunity aren't. And so we work with a bunch of communities around the region to find young adults who we call opportunity talent, who are ripe for filling the needs, these critical needs employers in the region have, and training them, upskilling them, and providing both the technical skills and the professional skills to ensure they're ready to succeed in America's top jobs.
Right, so all these people are at the table now, and really partnerships. When we were speaking before the show, everybody was saying partnerships are so key now. And can you talk about who all has been at the table in these discussions, and then sort of what the plan is moving forward?
Sure. So with Inflection Point, I mean, that was all about making sure we had critical stakeholders at the table. We worked with a company out of Boston called Burning Glass Technologies from a data side who are the largest consumers of job postings in the world. They scrape about 50 million jobs. So really to give us data on what employers are asking for in job descriptions, what jobs are out there. But then we also had focus groups with about 125 CEOs and HR directors to say, how do these match up? And what are your needs in 1, 3, 5, 10 years down the road? We also brought in universities across the region as well as training providers to say, you know, what do we have now in terms of accessibility to training that matches what employers need? What do we not have that we need to build to make sure that we have the capability to train workers for the jobs of tomorrow?
Right. So if we could boil down for folks, the group that we've been talking about who are underrepresented in our workforce in Pittsburgh, and yet there is a need where we can match them with jobs. Can you tell me specifically some examples of what a good opportunity is and a program that maybe you all are taking part in to help get them into the workforce?
I would give couple of examples, actually, with what we've been doing with responding to the healthcare sector as well as business. We have partnered with Allegheny General Hospital, looking very directly at the forecasted shortfall that's going to occur within the nursing area. And very specifically, what we have done is that we have partnered in looking at how can we diversify the nursing pipeline over the next 3 to 5 years. And with that, we have worked closely with community-based organizations, but also asked a very fundamental question: how do we begin to create that awareness at an earlier stage for our prospective employers in that field? So we have partnered with AGH and Highmark, and we have a wonderful grant that will actually kicks off this spring. And we're looking to, again, funnel students and ultimately graduate them and ultimately have them work at AGH. But in the same token, do it in a fashion that inspires others, seeing that there is an opportunity out there that's accessible, and I'm seeing folks that look like me and who are actually successful in it. So in addition to really ensuring that that pipeline, that pathway system is seamless, we are very sensitive to the fact that we have to be proactive enough in engaging, educating, empowering, and inspiring not only the students, but their guardians, their families, to let them understand and embrace that there is an opportunity for them as well.
Right. And when it comes to opportunities, Year Up is something else.
We think so. Europe is, a program that's been around for almost 20 years. We are in 26 cities around the country, and selfishly, I've been wanting to bring Europe to Pittsburgh for a long time, but in the vein of partnerships, what it really took was BNY Mellon, who's been a corporate partner of ours for over a decade, and has taken Europe interns and hired them in New York and Boston by the hundreds. So they've worked with us and taken 250 interns, hired over 100 of them. And they approached us about a year ago and said, you know what, our biggest office in the States is actually in Pittsburgh, and we have this huge shortage of workers that we really need to be able to meet our goals, and we want your help. And we want your help because we also believe that it's important to tap into the local community, hire locally, and upskill the talent that we have in our city. And so they brought us in. We're launching the first program in September, and we'll train 80 young adults a year for their jobs.
Right, so give folks some of the requirements. So it's 80 young adults.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the finance field or the banking field, or how would you describe
Yes.
it? And kind of give folks a sense of what happens in this program.
Sure. So we'll start in September, which means we'll start recruiting the first class of 40 young adults in the next couple weeks. We serve individuals who are 18 to 26 from low-income communities. And what we're really looking for in that admissions process is grit, resiliency, interest in the roles that we're training for, and the commitment to be able to invest in a program like this for a year. And by invest, we don't mean financially. It's a free program for young adults, and they actually do receive a small educational stipend by participating. So they'll start in September. For about 6 months, they'll focus 5 days a week on professional skill training and technical skill training, and that'll actually happen in-house at BNY Mellon through Europe staff who are there to train them, and through some online education as well. And at the end of those 6 months, they'll transition to an internship at BNY Mellon as well, where they'll actually be working with teams on the ground, adding value. This is not the intern where they're getting coffee or opening mail. This is really a value add to the team doing hard, critical tasks. And at the end of that 1 year program, individuals will graduate, and we expect about 2/3 of them to convert into full-time jobs at BNY Mellon, earning about $40,000 a year.
And that's amazing, because we're talking about folks with a high school diploma
Exactly.
or a GED moving into the workforce. Why is that? Why are programs like this attractive to companies? What does BNY Mellon say they were missing that they want this in their workforce?
So it's a pipeline of talent that's trained to meet the real needs of the workforce. So, the focus on our professional skills is really what tends to set Europe graduates apart. So you think about the ABCs: attitude, behavior, communications. We've heard from Europe's corporate partners over the years that the skills, the sort of hard skills, are what people hire for, but what really keeps you in the job is those professional skills. And so, BNY Mellon, similar to the, 250 partners that we have and the 30,000 graduates from our program over the last 2 decades, are really what has shown us that this works. It's a win for companies. It's a win for communities.
Right. And what do we know about, so now more and more people are coming to the table, even high schools are coming to the table to learn. What do we need to tell schools and parents? What sort of things, how early should this sort of looking at the workforce and picking careers, how early should that begin?
I think as early as possible, certainly by middle school. I think we need to make sure that students are aware of what careers are available to them. But I think what's really unique about the Year Up program at BNY Mellon, to add to what you've said, is, when people think about getting into technology, they think locally maybe that's a 4-year degree from Pitt or CMU or something like that. And Year Up and CCAC both have programs where you either within 1 year, within 2 year, can be graduating, making a sustainable wage in a technology field. I mean, the BNY program is software development, cybersecurity, and investment banking, I think. So when I talk about, technology being pervasive across every industry, you described it as a financial services firm, which is true, but they're doing primarily technology roles.
Yeah.
So I think people need to recognize that there are all sorts of pathways to get into high demand fields. It's not just a 4-year degree.
Right, and so obviously that's a message that you tout at CCAC.
Definitely, and it's a legacy that we have. We have to start early. And you think about young folks and the various things that impact them subliminally, consistently as they're growing up. We have to be able to be creative in trying to get the message across to them in a consistent fashion where, again, they can see that there's an opportunity, there's an endpoint towards getting a career or pursuing a career that has a sustainable wage. And I think we have to be creative in how we communicate with younger folks because, you know, we may want to say that you can get a job with benefits. A young person, a child, that has no meaning. But if you are able to cultivate and connect with them and show them that this is an opportunity and here are peers, here are folks from your own community who have been successful, who are coming back, who are making a difference. I think that's absolutely critical. It not only starts with education, coming in and talking about the opportunities, but it's really a partnership collectively where it's the K-12 sector, it's the post-secondary sector, as well as business, because for young people, there's almost the immediate gratification that you need. If I'm going to pursue a certain area, what's the end point? And are there opportunities for growth?
Is it a tough sell for parents and communities? Sometimes people are focused on it's a 4-year degree or nothing when you can really make a good living sometimes in an area that's not a 4-year degree.
I think so.
I think so, yeah. It's interesting too, it's also a tough sell sometimes to employers, and we've done a lot of work over the years. We published a report called Dismissed by Degrees, essentially suggesting that a lot of employers that we talk to recognize that the jobs they're looking for, they put a 4-year degree requirement on there, and the actual skills they need for that job, you don't need a 4-year degree. And that requirement on a job description ends up cutting out, you know, inordinate percentages of people of color. And that's not their intention, but they sometimes don't know better. And so even, you know, an act like that, removing that and opening the transparency both for families who are thinking about pathways for their children, young adults in general, and employers to sort of get down to the brass tacks of what do you really need for this job and what does it take to be successful in getting prepared.
Right. So if I'm at home watching the show and maybe I'm in high school and I don't want to go to a 4-year college, I don't want to go into healthcare or nursing, I'm not so sure about cybersecurity, what are some of the other opportunities that are out there that you would encourage young people to take a look at?
I think with education, it's important for us to make a clear connection that it's not the destination, but it's a journey towards opportunities. And the extent to which we can articulate in a fashion that they understand the opportunities that are out there, and in pursuit of those opportunities is that the training aspect, the credentialing aspect is important. And I've always shared with students that it's important that as you explore and wonder what do I really want to do, make sure you put your best foot forward. You ask the right questions, you engage, you take risk, but also you maximize on the support mechanisms that are around you. And I know for us at the college, we are very proud of the resources, the career services, the counseling, the advisors that are in place to help shepherd and guide many of our first-generation students.
Right. And I guess a big part of this and a big part that came out of Inflection Point was really working with the universities and adjusting curriculum or evolving curriculum based on what employers and companies were telling everybody.
And I have to say, you know, huge kudos to the education community. They were certainly the fastest to respond to Inflection Point and say, how do we transition our curriculum? I'll use CCAC since Dr. Walters is sitting next to me. They were the first community college to have a cybersecurity credential and a data science in the country. And I think that that's a huge asset that we have in our community, is how quickly our universities are willing to change and are willing to partner with employers, and that collaborative spirit in Pittsburgh is not something you find in every market, where employers, universities, nonprofits are coming to the table together to say, how do we take on these challenges together and make sure that we have the talent here that we need.
Yeah, I mean, Europe's been really active in Pittsburgh just for a couple weeks, and the reception from all sectors, whether it's the education sector, employers, the CBOs in the region, everybody's been arms open. How can we partner? How can we collaborate? How can we help work together to really improve the workforce system and the whole ecosystem here in the region?
Right, and that would have to just overall, if employers know that the leadership, the community they're willing to make changes based on needs, you would think we'll close this 80,000 job gap that we could be facing?
I think so. I think we're heading in the right direction. And I know some people say, Year Up's in town and CCAC, and how do those two compete with each other? And to be totally honest, we're working on how do we bring more providers to the region to grow the ecosystem, because it's a value add for us. We have 85,000 opportunity youth in the Pittsburgh region. CCAC has a set number of students that they're going to impact based on their location. Year Up's going to impact 240 over the next 3 years, and those are great things. But the more opportunities and access points that people can have to professions with upward mobility and family sustaining wages, the better. And so I think we continue to grow that and continue to create opportunity, and that opportunity for all becomes a reality.
Right. So let's say a high school student is watching this, or someone that's out of high school, guidance counselors, parents. What's your best message? What would you want them to know, especially students in underserved areas and underserved communities, about opportunities that are out there and how they can find them?
Visit yearup.org. We'll have a lot of information available for young people, but to the degree you're 18 to 26, an 18 to 26-year-old who might be interested in these types of careers, we'll have information sessions around the region and lots of information online. But we invite lots of people to learn more and certainly to apply for the program.
And it's an amazing process. Is it a competitive process to get in? How many students are you looking to take?
So we'll enroll 40 students for the first class. And I think of it less as competitive and more as we want to make sure we're the right program for you and that this is what you are interested in as a young adult. So there's a couple steps to the process. It's definitely, it's rigorous, but through that, we're really vetting to assess whether you're the right fit, because one of our sort of key tenets is that we set a really high bar for what the program is going to require, and that's to ensure that each young adult that graduates is ready to be successful in jobs day one. But we match that sort of high expectation with really high support. So we have a whole set of wraparound services. We work a lot with other community-based organizations to provide resources, whether an individual is facing housing insecurity, food insecurity, whatever the challenge at hand is, we're there to help. We just want to make sure it's the right program and right fit for someone at the beginning.
Right.
I would add that I believe we're at a really exciting point for the college. We have a very dynamic president, Dr. Bullock, who charges us every day to be in the community. So I would add, in addition to them looking at us to see what's available, we are consistently in the community, working with the community-based organizations to better have an understanding, but also an access to what their needs are. So I would highly encourage them not only to look towards visiting us. Our mission is open access. So we are willing, we're open, we have the resources to not only guide them, but also support them along the way. So I believe that the opportunity is tremendous, and we will consistently be there for the students.
And we should say, you have a new training center in the works.
Yes, indeed. It's very exciting. It's anticipated that the new workforce training facility, which will be a high-tech collaborative space that will house our advanced manufacturing programs, or culinary arts, or IT and cybersecurity, which in essence it expands the capacity on some of the programs that we already have. But in terms of accessibility, it's going to be centrally located at the Allegheny campus, and we are really excited about the opportunities for not only the college, but for the community as a whole.
And when is that supposed to open?
We're anticipating it will be in the spring of 2022.
So not that far away,
not that far
actually.
Away.
Best advice, what do you want people watching this to know? Parents, students, guidance counselors, what do you say to them about the opportunities that are out there and how to pursue them?
Kind of going back to my initial point, I think recognizing that there are multiple pathways into careers is a great start. Whether that's a training course, whether that's community college, whether that's a 4-year degree, recognizing that there are lots of different pathways. But I also think from an exploration standpoint, Remake Learning is an internationally recognized organization that is very vibrant in the Pittsburgh region. They have something called Remake Learning Days in May, and that's a great way for elementary age students through high school to really get hands-on experience with all sorts of different skills, companies, careers, and so that's one way I think that you can find a tangible way to do some exploration and get to see what's going on in the region, where parents, students can come together and do it with each other.
Is there one course of study at the college that is your top course of study in the college?
Nursing, I wouldn't say top, it's one of the largest programs. It's recognized for business as well. IT cyber is growing. So we have, again, over 160 programs. It's diverse enough to not only meet the needs of the region, but the thing that I should highlight that I think speaks very directly to our underserved populations, we are very careful in terms of ensuring the accessibility with regards to the times in which we offer courses. We diversified in terms of making sure weekend availabilities, hybrid day. We know that if we create a educational structured system for the underserved populations, it creates a better opportunity for them to feel comfortable that CCAC will be their second home from their original home.
So important, and you mentioned this earlier, you really have people in place at the school to walk people through
exactly
application process, managing schedules. They're not just going in it alone.
It's a very comprehensive array of support services ranging from academic advisors, counselors, student success coaches. We have peer mentors, financial aid advisors. It's created strategically, particularly for those new incoming students who, nationally, when you look at it, we tend to lose students within the first semester or the first year of them coming in, particularly for underserved populations. So we have a lot of systems and resources in place that really looks to address that.
If you can get them together, you can get it all together. Thank you all so much for your time tonight. Such an important conversation, and we look forward to seeing what happens after all of this good stuff comes together. If you'd like more information about what you heard in this program, if you want to see some of the jobs that are trending in this region, or to watch videos about WQED's Future Jobs Initiative, you'll find it all at wqed.org/futurejobs. I'm Tonya Caruso. Thanks for watching.